Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. I just was on a Discord server discussing this video with a bunch of people today, a bunch of good brothers and sisters in Islam, and it's a video that was on Hamza's channel, Hamza's Den. So like a few days earlier, Hamza was live from his shop and he was asking about who to invite onto his show. So a number of people in the chat were typing, get Milahan on. Milahan, the philosopher sister, who had recently converted to Islam. Hamza wasn't familiar with Milahan, so he said, okay, I'm going to check out a couple of her videos. So he checked out her channel, and then he invited her onto his show to, I guess, maybe vet her or find out more about her before he invites her onto his panel where they sort of combat Christianity on his panel. Anyhow, during this discussion, it got quite, I won't say combative, but quite, they disagreed on a number of points. And I've seen the responses from a lot of the Muslim community who have automatically taken the side of Hamza. Many of these followers of Hamza have started harassing Sister Milahan. And you could even say bully her in some of the comments that they're writing on her channel. I haven't seen any comments in support of Milahan on Hamza's channel, but I've seen plenty of comments in support of Hamza on Milahan's channel. And then I've seen a couple of follow-up videos from Hamza against Milahan. So I just thought I'd have a quick review, even though it's a long video, like more than 3 hours long, nearly 4 hours long. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just thought I'd have a quick couple of comments because it's just bugging me. All right, so thanks for your patience.
Argue against it. You know what? I'm going to read what Thomas Aquinas maybe said about this, and but the problem is that it goes back to my same point. Source material. It's like imagine trying to explain a fabricated hadith to somebody.
Yeah, so he mentioned someone called Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas, I'd never heard of him until they were talking about it here. Who's Thomas Aquinas? One of the brothers I spoke to today said that when he was doing A-level religious studies, in studying the Christianity topic, they had to read on somebody called Thomas Aquinas. But until they spoke about it here, I'd never heard of Thomas Aquinas. Why should I know about Thomas Aquinas? People who study Christianity should know who he is. And if you're following the Ahmadidat cult, or the people who follow Zakir Naik and Ahmadidat, where their concept of dawah is just studying the Bible and critiquing the Bible, then shouldn't you know something about Thomas Aquinas? It's like people who study the Quran, but they never bother to read the tafsir. If you're going to study the Quran or critique it, you should at least read the tafsir of Ibn Kathir or Tabari, etc. All right, so let's continue.
What's the point?
You can learn something from. I would say, you know what? I have learned quite a lot from Aquinas.
No. But what I'm saying to you,
heavily respected through
by
millions of people.
I'm going to respect.
I spent money to buy his volumes, and I dedicate time to him on my channel. And I think he's one of the most brilliant minds that's ever existed on the planet. He's a very smart man, and I don't believe in backbiting and shaming scholars. The work he did to try to combat philosophers who were very secularist was intense.
Was he a Christian?
He was a Catholic.
Oh, then his mind's in a box.
How dare you talk about somebody you never read?
So, she said he's a Catholic. Prior to that, she said that he done extensive work in combating what you call secularists. Yeah, in philosophy. So even though he was a Christian, he was combating the secularist type of movement that was encroaching on the religious side of things. Hamza just needed to hear that Thomas Aquinas was a Catholic, and then he said, well, his mind's in a box. All right. So what are you saying then? Because his mind's in a box, you shouldn't read his book? All his work is trash because his mind is in a box of Christianity? Well, which box of Christianity anyway? Are all Christians alike? Does that mean you can't study anything that a kafir writes? You can only study what Muslims write? I mean, maybe you've got a good argument for that. But let's see.
No, if he's
You
a
have
Christian,
to show humbleness. You have to be careful.
why?
Oh, astaghfirullah. I mean, you can never talk bad about somebody you haven't read their works.
Was
No
he Christian?
academic should ever do that.
Did he believe
That's not good
Christianity was true?
character.
Did he believe
That's not
Christianity was
good
true?
character. I never.
Did he believe
ever.
Christianity was true?
You must really reflect. You cannot do that. That's
Why?
bad to teach your students. To
Why?
slander something they have not read. You have not spent the money. You have not dedicated the time. You have not learned.
What?
You're dismissing a man who has written some of the most valuable works that are studied in universities all
Whatever he's
across the
written,
world.
Whatever he's
All
written,
across the world.
wherever he's,
Harvard, Yale, great schools study this man, and
whatever
you.
he's written.
So before we continue any further, what's the point of contention here? The point of contention is that Hamza has dismissed the works of Thomas Aquinas. He's making the point that there's no point reading any of his works on the basis that the man is a Christian. And being a Christian, his mind is in a box. Right? Therefore, he hasn't questioned Christianity. To remain a Christian after having questioned it means you've switched your brain off pretty much. And therefore, it's pointless reading anything the man has to say. That's the issue here. Can you dismiss the works of Thomas Aquinas with regards to Christianity just because the man's a Christian? That's the issue. Remember that.
You think that it's good to tell students of knowledge to never approach it. He has nothing to offer. You just think that you're better than him. This is a very bad attitude. This is not good. This is not good.
Did I say that? I said to you.
What you're saying. This is exactly how you're acting. You should not do that.
What?
You should not do that. You should say, "Oh, because I debunked the Bible, therefore I have nothing to learn from Aquinas. I should never do it." No, this is not good.
No. What I'm saying is this.
I read Shia books. I read Sufi books.
Yeah.
I read occult books. I read all kinds of stuff to learn.
Yeah.
How can you ever slander somebody you didn't take the time to read their?
So, Milahan, obviously, having an academic background, she studies books, she reads them, and she will come from a sort of analytical perspective where she's going to, I don't know, it's a high level of knowledge that she's coming from. She's a researcher. And she reads a lot. When you check out her channel, the amount of books she's read, I mean, a vast amount of books. To the point, I mean, that's why she's Muslim today, isn't it? She started reading books recommended to her about Islam. I remember she read Hamza Tsortzis' book on the divine reality. I was following some of that too. She read some other book. I think she read the whole Quran. She even read Sahih al-Bukhari, even Tirmidhi. Books that many Muslims haven't even read or even opened. She's read these in English on her channel. But she's also read books like Leviathan, whatever that is, and some of these well-known American authors. She's read their books too. I mean, she's read all sorts of books. Anyhow, had she not done so, would she have come across Islam? And had she not had an open mind, would she have even considered it? So this is her background. She's coming from the perspective of, I need to respect authorship. I respect books. I'm not somebody that can dismiss works. I can take it or leave it. Right? But the fact that somebody wrote it down on paper and put it there, I have to respect it. That seems to be her point of view. And to just dismiss an author without even having opened their book, this is almost like blasphemy in her eyes. Now, Hamza is clearly not an academic by his own admission. He probably is like myself in that finds it very difficult to open up a book. Or if you're busy. If you're not an academic, you've got a life to get on with. You've got to make a living. And how you use your time has got to be efficient in the pursuit of, bringing an income to support yourself and your family, etc. So if you're going to read a book, there needs to be a purpose behind why you're reading that book. And I think from Hamza's perspective, like, what's this book going to teach me? If the guy was a Christian, right, I'm only going to read this book if it's going to give me some ammunition against Christians. Because Christianity is false, so there's no point in me reading something. But I think Milahan's point is that, no, if you want to discuss Christianity, you need to understand why Christians believe what they believe, or how things are interpreted by Christians, the sentiment behind their beliefs. And you're not going to understand that unless you read their books. And their books, the most significant of them apparently is this book or series of books by Aquinas. So, anyway, without me talking too much, let's see what else.
Again to you, if he believed Christianity was true, then he never really questioned Christianity. He never really questioned
You
Paul.
cannot say what he thought when you did not read his books.
Well, if he's remained a Christian,
you
he
cannot
hasn't.
speak about something you did not read. I don't know why you won't get that.
Because if he's remained a Christian, then he can't have thought about it.
Okay, so if a man remains a Christian, then he cannot have thought about whether Christianity is true. She's not actually answering his question directly. She's just saying, she's sort of stopping him in his tracks and saying, you cannot come to that conclusion without having read his book. Read his books, then come to your conclusion. But to make that decision at this point without having opened a page of his book and read it, then what you've done is unjust. Okay, that's her position.
He's just accepted it.
You cannot worship your own mind like that.
It's not worshiping the mind.
You cannot keep, you're saying he's the one in the box, but you won't even take the time to read his respectable work.
His mind is in a box when it comes to Christianity, yes.
And yours is with Islam. So learn from him too.
Why is it in a box?
Because you're thinking, you're dismissing someone like that.
No, I'm dismissing somebody. I'm dismissing the idea of Christianity being true. Yeah? And if he believed Christianity was true, then he truly hasn't questioned the Christianity he believed was true. When did he exist?
How dare you say he has not questioned when you have not read it?
Okay. When was his time?
Any person who has read it,
when was he born, or what was his era?
Literally ripping their hair out right now.
What was his era?
Deep slander.
What was his era?
Deep slander. He didn't have TikTok and things to distract him. He dedicated his entire hours.
What was his era? Yeah, but if he's died a Christian, then he's died of an unbeliever, isn't he? So he hasn't thought about what Christianity is, has he?
And you don't know where you'll end up either.
No, but he's died. I haven't died yet.
He's dead.
No, but I haven't died.
His life.
He died a Christian.
What does that have to do with his mind?
Well, what it does have to do with it, his knowledge. His knowledge is something else. But Christianity is something else again. Christianity is his belief, yeah? And if he's such a brilliant man, did he ever question Christianity? Because if he did, he would not have died a Christian. Unless
once you open that first volume, I think you will cut out your own tongue.
Unless.
So she's read his books. Hamza hasn't. And Hamza has made his own conclusion already. He's decided that this guy was a Christian. He wrote a bunch of words in a book. And it's not worth reading because he remained a Christian. Yet, you're going to critique Christianity without understanding the main scholar of Christianity and his points of view. I mean, Milahan seems in utter shock right now. I don't think she ever anticipated meeting somebody who would just dismiss an author of a book, particularly so well regarded amongst, I guess, the Christian world as Aquinas.
I think you'll cut out your own tongue, because what you're saying right now
No,
proves that you're going to be embarrassed when you read it. You're going to be
absolutely
embarrassed.
not. Absolutely not.
You will, because you're going to say he didn't question when all he did in his books was refute.
Okay, where did he refute Paul?
This is what you need to do.
Now, where did he refute Paul?
Before you talk about you.
Well, you've read it.
You never read it.
You've got volumes.
I'm not going to go into the Paul thing here.
No, but you've got volumes.
I'm telling you.
You've got volumes.
You are slandering a man who's more smarter than you.
Not slandering.
Who's done more work than you.
You can't be more smarter than somebody. You can be more smart. So for Milahan to say that, anyway, it's just, I make mistakes all the time. Anyway, let's continue.
Dismissing it, and you're telling other theology students the way you're acting, dismissing him. This is not a way an intellectual acts.
I'm not dismissing his volumes of work.
This is not a way an intelligent, wise person acts.
So she said this is not the way a wise, intelligent person acts. Do you agree? Is she wrong in saying that? Is Hamza right to dismiss the works of Aquinas without ever having opened his book or books and read any of his words?
This is why there's so much disrespect for Muslim scholars as well.
I'm dismissing.
I try to create a bridge of knowledge.
I'm dismissing his religion as false, unequivocally. And if he was so
unequivocally mean? Unequivocally, maybe. I haven't heard unequivocally mean before. Maybe that means something. But Hamza's position now is that he is dismissing Aquinas' religion as false. Okay, so he dismissed Aquinas and his book or books, and the reason he's doing that is because he's a Christian. He's dismissing a Christian scholar's work on Christianity because he's a Christian.
Intelligent, unless he lived at a time.
I'm a perfect Muslim. I don't got to read anything.
Who claimed perfection? Who claimed perfection?
I just got to declare things as unlawful, and I don't got to do the work.
Listen, Milahan, agree with me or don't agree with me, it doesn't really matter.
It does matter.
Your agreement to me, whether what I'm saying is true or not, it's very, very simple. If he died a Christian, unless he lived in a time when you had to be a Christian and you'd be burned at the stake if you wasn't, which is another story. But if you're saying he was a Christian and he questioned the doctrine of atonement, and
so because he didn't question the way you want it, therefore he's not worth reading.
For example, when did he die?
I'm sorry, I don't know his birthday. He was a medieval philosopher, theologian.
No,
he was a medieval philosopher, theologian.
What century was he?
That's in the 14th and 15th, I think.
Right. So in the 14th and 15th century, he wouldn't be aware of the previous manuscripts that exposed later manuscripts. He won't be aware of that because they weren't discovered till the 19th century. So that's the first thing. So maybe he'd have had if he'd have seen.
You should not stop doing that.
What?
Stop saying what he knows and what he doesn't know. You never even read the man.
Well, he didn't know.
How do you know?
Because the manuscripts weren't available.
This is a bad precedent to set. Stuff for love. People get mad at me for reading a bunch of different. This is very bad.
I'm stating facts here. The Codex Sinaiticus was not discovered until the end of the 19th century, and by that time,
you need to think about how you tell people to go about knowledge.
What?
You cannot.
So Hamza has made the decision to dismiss this scholar of Christianity. Now he's making an excuse for him being a Christian, or looking for an excuse, a potential excuse for him being a Christian, due to him not having come across works critical of Christianity until after his death. And now Milahan is making him aware that his method of dismissing somebody without having read his works. So she's keeping on point. Her issue is that he's dismissed somebody without ever having read the guy's books. Okay, is that a fair criticism? Of course. It's reasonable. Hamza is trying harder and harder to justify his position. I think he's entrenching himself into a position which is not really defendable or defensible. Let's see.
Dismiss someone like Aquinas and be considered an intellectual.
I can say he did not know the Bible had been corrupted. I can say that for a fact.
You know?
Well, if he didn't know the Bible had been corrupted, then how can you say his mind is in the box? I mean, is it because you're saying he didn't question it? Maybe he did question it. You don't know what he believed or what he didn't believe. If you haven't read his works, how do you know? So Hamza's made a conclusion without any basis for his conclusion. His conclusion is that this author can be dismissed. There's no benefit to be obtained from me reading his works because he's a Christian. But I've not read his books. I mean, maybe you read his book and you find out, even though he's a Christian by name, but what he was writing in his book indicated he was actually a Muslim in his heart. Who knows? Until you read him, you don't know.
You've probably really debated a lot of weak-minded people.
No.
And a lot of strong-minded people,
No.
but your ego and your disrespect for such a powerful man.
I think you don't listen to what's being said.
I've never heard something like this before, not even from an atheist.
Well, unfortunately, it's true. And whether you like to hear it, it's true. Because you cannot
you're
say...
just declaring your own things true, just to slander someone you don't even...
Yeah, there you go. So now he's he's entrenching himself even further. He's building a barricade now, saying, this is my position, I'm not moving. What I say is true. She's saying, you haven't read his works. How do you know? He's not saying how he knows. He's saying, it doesn't matter how I know or how I don't know. What I'm saying here is true. Yeah, but how do you know? Because I say it's true.
No.
Milahan,
you never read his works,
facts.
but you think you get to say all these things.
No, I'm declaring facts. Thomas Aquinas Thomas Aquinas was not aware of Codex Sinaiticus because it wasn't discovered until after he died. Which part of that don't you get?
What does that have to do with his arguments?
Okay, so no, that's not what I said. I said to you, if Thomas Aquinas would have seen Codex Sinaiticus and seen that what do you mean you're shaking your head for? Why are you shaking your head?
Because he didn't know this one thing.
No, it's not just one thing.
You get to dismiss him as nobody, he's not worth reading, and you get to put him on a lower pedestal than you.
I didn't say that, did I?
You can see
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. What I said was
this is what the implications are of your behavior and your demeanor towards a great man.
No, not at all. I can see how much you look up to him.
I don't need to read him because the source material. That's basically what you said.
What did I say? Tell me what I said that you're so upset about.
Because the Christianity is false, therefore I don't need to read somebody who died thinking Christianity was true.
What did I say about...
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly the point. She's nailed it. He said, because Christianity is false, I don't need to read their works. That's basically what he's saying. Now, what's Hamza going to argue?
Thomas Aquinas. That you got
everything that you have said is accumulating in this extreme bias.
No, it's very, very simple.
Test your mind and read this great man.
I said this very, very simply. If Thomas Aquinas was such the brilliant man as you said he is, then maybe if he was still alive when the Codex Sinaiticus was discovered and the Bible was exposed as containing forgery.
Look, he's arguing a different point. He's talking about this Codex, I don't know what it's called, Codex Sinaiticus. It's a secondary argument. It's not the primary argument. The primary issue here is that Hamza is refusing to read this man's works because he's a Christian. Hamza is saying the guy, he's bringing up a different topic, that he wasn't aware of the Bible's corruption. He's arguing, Hamza's position is, did Aquinas know the Bible was corrupted or not? Milahan is saying, regardless of whether he knew the Bible was corrupted or not, just read his books. Why don't you read his books? Find out what he said. Hamza is saying, I don't need to know what he said, and I don't care what he said, unless it's to do with him knowing the Bible is corrupt. So he's arguing a separate point to what Milahan's arguing.
He may not have died a Christian. He may have questioned that. He may have said, wait a minute, how can we then hold on to this as the word of God when we can clearly see man has corrupted it? Maybe that would have changed his position. So the point, what I'm saying is, you can bring
but you still need to read him.
Thomas Aquinas
you still need to read him.
Thomas Aquinas did not have all the facts to judge Christianity that we do today. Yeah, the expose of the Bible wasn't available in his time, and I'm pretty sure in the 14th and 15th century, it was burn them at the stake if you didn't believe what the people believe. So, this isn't. I'm not saying about. I mean, me personally, if I think your religion is forced upon you, I don't believe you're going to be held accountable because you never embraced Islam. If you're in an environment, I don't know his environment. I'm going to check it out now. I'm going to check out this idea of this brilliant man, of how brilliant he really was, and in what field was he brilliant. Because you can be brilliant in one thing, but you can be ignorant in another.
So he's a Christian, therefore he's not brilliant, basically. And because he's a Christian, no need to read his works.
So I don't know whether or not he was ignorant in high-end textual criticism. Certainly ignorant in textual criticism because he didn't have the tools available to do it. Now, did he question the...
Look, right at this moment, Milahan's just gone quiet. She's allowing Hamza to continue building his fortress and entrenching himself even deeper. She's just listening and letting himself dig his own hole.
Validity of the authorship of the New Testament, the Gospels, I don't know. I'd love to see what he says with regards to the authorship of the Gospels. I don't know. I'd love to see what he says about the incarnation of Jesus. Was he fully man, fully God? And why does he believe that? Now, if he just believes it because Paul said it, then I'm going to question why you believe in what Paul says. Same as I would do anyone. And it's the same process. I'd ask the Pope the same question today. If I had the Pope in front of me, I'd ask him the same questions. Why do you believe this? Because Thomas Aquinas has the excuse of not having the information to hand that we have today. Today is a different story. Today we've got everything. We've got the technology. We can see it side by side. We can see everything. It's a different world.
It may be a different world, but you should not create the habit of dismissing scholars so willy-nilly based on the things you like to study. You should remember that.
What?
That is what people are going to get from what you're doing, because that is what I'm getting from you. That is the feeling that I'm getting from you. That's the energy I'm getting from you.
Yeah, it's not just the energy or the feeling that you're getting from him. It's a fact. That is what he's saying. He's dismissing somebody who he basically doesn't agree with in terms of their worldview. The guy's a Christian, therefore I'm not going to bother reading the word he says.
That is what I'm saying. Is that it's like a pattern. Like this is something that I've learned definitely from this. I've become more humble from this. I read a lot of people whom I disagree with, scholars. And you have shown me how I need to educate more people to read people regardless and have more respect for scholars.
I'm pretty sure people watching this will say, Milahan, what are you doing?
Okay. Now Hamza is moving the argument on. He's changed gears now. He's starting to involve other people. And this is something I'm not sure I agree with him doing. Okay? He's saying, I'm sure people are watching this and thinking, Milahan, what are you doing? This can trigger his followers to actually start harassing her and send her messages saying, what are you doing? You're defending Christians. What's wrong with you? Why are you debating Hamza? Why are you attacking Hamza? I mean, you notice he's moved on now from the topic of reading Aquinas. I mean, the burden was on him to read Aquinas. It's very simple. She'd assign him a simple task. Read his books. Before you start preaching about Christianity and what they believe, at least understand what their scholars are saying about it. Maybe he's read books on Christianity. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Christianity. But what she's saying seems reasonable to me. Yet Hamza's now decided, okay, I can't win this argument. I'm going to move on now and start bringing in the audience to support me. They're going to ask you, Milahan, what's wrong with you? So he's now saying there's something wrong with Milahan, and my audience are going to start attacking you.
Why are you defending a position that's undefendable? Why are you trying to defend the atonement where the Bible doesn't support it? Why are you trying to defend it? It doesn't say it.
I'm testing to see what
You
you're
scrabbled in
saying is
Deuteronomy.
true.
You scrabbled in Deuteronomy.
Fishing out information from you
Then
is
you went
not
to
exactly
Leviticus.
defending.
Then you
I
went
don't
to
have to agree
Leviticus.
with everything
Now
you
here's
say.
the thing, Milahan. You went to Deuteronomy. You went to Leviticus. You went to Joshua. Right? Not once did you say, you know what, Hamza? Do you know what, Hamza? I think you're right. I agree with you.
I don't think you're right. I think there's answers.
I know you don't. I know you don't, because you're too arrogant to accept it.
You won't.
Yeah. Now he's accusing her of arrogance. Well, you know, maybe she has a difficult time accepting what he's saying, and she's justified, to be fair. If he's not willing to read the books of the Christian scholars themselves, why should she take anything he says? That's reasonable.
All right.
You won't read Aquinas.
No.
You won't go to a cardinal. You won't go to people in Jehovah's Witness. You ask regular people, then you say, I'm the arrogant one. When I say I read everything.
You haven't got the humility to say, you know what? I didn't know this, what you're telling me today.
I say don't stop learning till you're dead. You say, why? I don't know. Source material.
Listen, you just give me platitudes now, Milahan.
That's not platitudes.
You don't practice what you preach.
It's not a platitude if I live by it.
You don't practice
what you preach. It's not a platitude if I live by it.
You do not practice what you preach. No, you.
He says she doesn't practice what she preaches. She certainly does. Her body of work. Check out her videos. She does practice what she preaches. And she just said it. I live it. She lives this life. She reads books. Hopefully she learns from the books too. But she reads a lot, right? How is she a hypocrite? And how is she arrogant? Just because you can't convince her that to take from you, maybe she's arrogant to take from you because you've not presented any evidence that she can accept. She's somebody who reads books. She's quoting, she's saying, read Aquinas. You're refusing to read Aquinas. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the man's name correctly. Let's continue.
Don't?
I read it every day.
Right now, everyone will see your hypocrisy.
How is that hypocrisy?
Okay, so Hamza's made a claim that everyone will see her hypocrisy. I don't see her hypocrisy. Do you? Does everybody watching see Milahan's hypocrisy? What hypocrisy? She's read the works of Aquinas. She's telling you to read Aquinas. You refuse to read it. And you justify not reading his books because he's a Christian. And Christians are in falsehood. Therefore, it's not worth reading their books. How does that make her a hypocrite?
I'll tell you why.
Well, you're saying I don't need to.
Atonement? Did you know about the atonement's only for unintentional sin? Did you know that?
I'm going to fact check it, and I'm going to ask somebody. But
yeah, is that not reasonable? She's going to fact check what you told her. She's just not going to take what you say simply because you say it. What's wrong with that?
It's not my mission. That is something you're interested in.
Well, you challenged me on it.
I'm testing your mind. I don't just have to accept everything you say without pushing back.
You tested my mind.
I don't just have to trust what you say. I can ask questions and test your mind.
Yeah, so she asked your opinion. You gave your opinion. She doesn't have to take it. She's going to fact check it. That's all. How does that make her a hypocrite? I sound so anti-Hamza. I feel bad because I like Hamza a lot. I really do. But in this particular discussion, he's out of line.
Read what I'm saying. And you did. And you scrabbled all over the Bible.
Tiny piece, but I need to go through more, obviously. I'm not finished all the way with the Bible.
And you can search until the cows come home and then you'll come back and say, Hamza, you were right. I need to learn humility when there's something I don't know about. I need to take a step.
You said I need to learn humility, but you were just had a whole spiel where I had to try to push you to even consider reading Aquinas.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Wow.
I asked you.
I think you spent a lot of time in Speaker's Corner instead of other places.
What does Thomas Aquinas write about?
She did. She asked you to read Aquinas, and you did everything you could not to read it. Yeah? You found one particular argument for not reading him, and that was he's a Christian, and you've entrenched yourself there. What has she done wrong?
Ya Allah.
Now Hamza is saying, okay, what does Aquinas... Right, so I don't have to read her. I want you to tell me what he writes about. I'm not going to read Aquinas. You tell me about it. So he's moving the goalposts again. So he's shifted gears twice.
You know what? I've defended Aquinas quite extensively.
Okay, so
He's a man
what's his
who
flex?
does not need an introduction. He does not need me to defend him.
Okay,
I have read it myself. If you
what's
want
his
to
flex?
not read it, go ahead. I'll go ahead and read it.
What's
And
his flex?
he has 7 volumes. That's like asking,
But
what
what's he
did
talking
Bukhari
about?
talk about?
What's his thing?
I want you to go up and read it. I've pushed him enough. I've pushed him enough.
Thomas Aquinas was an Italian Dominican friar, philosopher, Catholic priest, and
Yeah,
doctor of
look
the
on
church.
Google, and then that'll tell you all you need to know. Yeah, that's
And
what a
immense
scholar does. He
intellect,
just types it on the
philosopher,
Google search bar
theologian.
instead of reading the books themselves.
Yeah. To be honest, this is a little bit embarrassing now. It's descended into a joke. I mean, Milahan is clearly quite serious about knowledge. Hamza's shifted gears twice. He's decided he doesn't want to read the books of Aquinas. Who would want to read 7 volumes anyway? Especially of somebody from the 14th century. That's not going to be an easy read. Maybe there's an audio book that you can come across that would help. I don't know. Anyhow, and now it's like he's mocking the thing. He's looking on Google. Tell me in 20 seconds or less, summarize the 7 volumes of Aquinas. Come on. And Milahan's like, you're making a mockery of knowledge right now.
And jurist in the tradition of scholarship.
Yeah, you'll know everything you need to know about Islam if you just type it in on Google, right? That's how you learn about your religion. You just type it in on Google.
Dr. Communis and the Dr. Univan.
Yeah. So isn't that what Muslims complain about too when non-Muslims do that with Islam? They take a couple of verses and start quoting it and deciding this is how to interpret the Quranic texts. They don't look at the context. They don't look at the interpretations of the Quran or exegesis, however you pronounce that word. And Muslims take offense to it when non-Muslims do it to them.
Yes. So what is the gist of his teaching? Is he like the Christian Ghazali?
What's the gist of his teaching? Now, you see Milahan shaking her head? He's mocking. Making a mockery of this whole discussion. Hamza, this is disappointing, to be honest.
You know, you're saying I need to be humble.
Yes.
University students in community college learned about this guy's name. Okay?
So, I left school at 15. I ain't got a clue. I'm asking you.
So if you left school at 15 and you're speaking to a university researcher, I don't know if she's a PhD or an associate professor, something like that. Shouldn't you be the one that's humble and learn something? Well, Hamza would say right now that, I'm trying to learn. I'm asking her to teach me about Aquinas. Well, she's saying you can learn about him by reading him. That's the best way to learn about him.
Just go and read his volumes. They're on Amazon.
No, I'm not going to go read his volumes unless what's it about. It's not huffing and puffing. What's it about?
Deep. That's like saying, what is Bukhari about?
Bukhari is about a collection of the narrations and actions and speech of the Prophet ﷺ as recorded by his companions. What?
Is that how you would describe Bukhari? Like, Bukhari, yes, it is a collection of hadiths. However, what makes that book of hadiths different to the book of hadiths of Imam Muslim or Tirmidhi or Abu Dawood and Nasa'i, etc. What makes al-Bukhari's book different? If you want to get a gist of, like that's what you're asking for, the gist of the book, well, it's a collection of ahadith in multiple volumes. There's also a summarized version. But you can explain the gist differently. That isn't the gist. What you're saying there is Bukhari is a book of, it's a collection of ahadith. But that doesn't tell you why Bukhari is special or different from any other book of hadith.
Now get into the nitty-gritty details. Tell me every single thing included.
Oh, okay, so Bukhari went round and he didn't.
No. I'm not asking about biography. What's inside the books?
Oh, okay.
Tell me every single hadith, every freaking chapter.
Well, it seemed like Hamza, to be fair, was about to give an explanation of what made Bukhari's book special. But Milahan, you didn't give him a chance to explain. Let's see what Hamza says next.
Oh, okay. So basically the gist of it, which is I asked you for the gist. So the gist is this. So in Islam, we have a multitude of things. So we have things like marriage, social conditions, using the toilet, eating food, and whatever it may be. So Bukhari's book is divided into these kind of sections. So for example, if you want to know about marriage...
He was a theologian and philosopher. So what do you think his books were about?
I don't know. Tell me.
Theology and philosophy.
Okay. So theology, Christian theology.
Obviously.
Right. So you're so fantastically proud of this man who was a genius in Christian theology, where Christian theology makes no sense.
Dear God.
And like I said to you, going back,
Look, I don't think did Milahan say that she respects Aquinas for his positions being correct or his positions being the truth? That's not what I understood. What I understood is that she respects Aquinas for his works combating secularism. He was able to argue philosophical and points from a theological perspective. This is what I understood. And she respects the work that he put out, the writings that he put out. He didn't have to write those books. But in her view, he's contributed to the world of knowledge. Okay? Now, if his works have been relied upon by generations since then how can you just dismiss it, since our world is pretty much built upon his books? We're living in a world where the West runs the world. Therefore, the West is built upon his works. I guess, I don't know. But then you could say, well, that's Catholics, not Protestants. And you could argue that, well, the West took Islamic ideas. Well, the West studied Muslim books, didn't they? So should we dismiss Christian books necessarily just because the man's a Christian?
Excuse for Thomas Aquinas is he didn't realize the corruption of the text into the extent that it had become.
I wouldn't even
because he didn't have access.
Hamza just dismissed this man. He's just completely dismissed the individual because he's a Christian.
Even Richard Dawkins would have more respect.
Richard Dawkins is a fruitcake. Why bringing him as if
he would have more respect than what you're showing now? Now I understand where these young Muslim men and women are getting the arrogance of slandering Islamic scholars, slandering scholars.
Slandering Islamic.
Milahan didn't praise Richard Dawkins. She was saying that even somebody who is even Richard Dawkins wouldn't be so dismissive or disrespectful of this Aquinas. An atheist wouldn't be as disrespectful of him as you are. This is her point. She's not praising him.
Scholars.
I don't have to read it. I know everything off of Google. This is where it's coming from. This is where it's coming from. It's coming from people who are thinking they don't have to do the work themselves. They get to just talk and then read.
No, it's very simple.
It makes a lot of sense now. Now I see where it's coming from.
What can I learn from Thomas Aquinas that I need as a Muslim?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and now Hamza's changed gears again. So what's this? The third or the fourth time? So he's moved on to, why should I read his books? This is what you should have asked in the very beginning. Right? Instead of dismissing the man, just ask, why should I read his book? Had you asked this in the beginning, you would have come across quite a bit better, Hamza.
God. Oh my God. I can't even believe you're asking that. Like, this is
so dramatic.
this is not dramatic. I'm like shocked.
Why?
Like, I can't believe this.
Why? Why are you so shocked?
Dear God. We have so much work to do. Oh my God. May I be a different teacher? Please, Allah, help me. This is not good behavior. This is not what a wisdom. This is not it.
Why are you so shocked?
This is.
No, I want to know why you're so shocked. What's this mock outrage?
Wow.
I don't.
Why is it mock outrage? Just because you haven't seen this type of outrage before? See, Muslims, we do get away with a lot of ignorance. Like, you see some of the Muslim behavior online, and you have to ask yourself, how do we tolerate this? I'm not talking about Hamza, I'm talking about some of the online Muslims. Like, we see such ignorance among Muslims, where they can't even speak English, like, yet we accept it, or we hear swearing and foul language and insults, and we accept it and tolerate it like it's suitable behavior for a Muslim. No. You could see Milahan. Look, Milahan, you've done really well in this discussion so far.
Yeah, what it's all about. Educate me, school me.
If you don't get it, then there's nothing I can. At this point,
I don't.
If I haven't made it clear, wow, it's very.
Well, I'm shocked now. You said he was a theologian, because if he's a theologian, he's
theologian.
Only going to be using the source materials. He's only going to be going to the church father citations. He's only going to be going to the New Testament, which isn't reliable. So I'm kind of confused.
Wow. I guess it's just wow. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. I do know, but it's just not the way you go about your acquisition of knowledge. Much different than me.
Well, no, I take knowledge
what you like, and we are very different people.
No, definitely so.
Very different approaches. Very
look, how long have you been a Muslim?
Different attitudes towards knowledge.
Okay, changing gears again. Now, Hamza's shifted to, how long have you been a Muslim? What's that got to do with anything? Like, what's the relevance?
Just very different.
I'm pretty sure your attachment to Thomas Aquinas. Did your attachment to Thomas Aquinas come before or after Islam?
It has never stopped.
No, when did it start? Before?
Obviously before. And so what? What difference does it make if your attachment was before Islam or after Islam? Who cares?
Or after Islam.
I'm not going to be interrogated when the man can stand on his work on his own. I have respect.
No, when you started this journey into Thomas Aquinas and reading and getting this respect, was it before or after? Before your Shahada or after your Shahada?
I have noticed. I'm not going to answer that because I noticed this.
I know the answer. I know the answer.
A lot of Muslims and Christians, you guys are doing this to each other online.
Stop doing that. I'm not interested in a lot of Muslims online.
It's too much attacking. It's like
Milahan,
it's just not healthy. It's not healthy what's going on.
No one's attacking you.
You're going to say something like shaitan. You're going to say something like a jinn. You're going to say misguidance. You're going to do something like that.
Milahan, you don't know me. I don't speak that way. Yeah, first thing. Second thing.
So it's about how you speak. It's about how others are going to watch it and come across it.
Others are going to come across it and ask the same questions.
Yeah, Hamza's right. A lot of people have come across this and are asking the same questions Hamza's asking, only because he's leading them to ask those questions. There are a lot of people who just blindly follow Hamza, or they follow him from a tribalistic perspective because they're Muslim and or he's a man, whatever the reason. But me watching this, I'm not seeing it that way. so far, I don't see Milahan as doing anything wrong. Hamza keeps moving the goalposts. He keeps changing gears. And he tried to involve other people to pressure her, to make her feel like she's the odd one out. Everybody's going to be asking you this question. Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. What's wrong with her? She wants to read books. She's asking you to read a book rather than dismiss the author. What's wrong with that? And then eventually you're asking why you should read the book. You could have asked that in the beginning.
Yeah, every student of knowledge has to be super careful about like what circles they sit in and to constantly test their mind. This is I'd rather cut out my tongue than ever slander someone I'd never read their works.
Who have I slandered?
Everything that you have done about Aquinas is a slander. It's a slander to students of knowledge.
Why is it a slander? I justified
to people who study philosophy, people who study theology,
No.
people who are respectable people. He may have been a Christian, but he was a respectable man.
Who said he wasn't respectable?
The way you're treating him, the way you're
Why am I
behaving,
treating him
the way
that
you're acting is not a way a wise person acts. You are very smart, and I did not expect that.
No, I'm asking a very simple question.
It's such a horrible thing. I mean,
no. Look, you can defend him all you like. If he died as a Christian, I give him.
You think you know everything in the world? You have nothing to learn from anyone else.
I never made that claim.
You want to accuse other people of being in a box?
No. I said
I am not. I live by my creed. I study and I learn from everyone.
Every Christian, their mind has to be in a box. Has to be.
Do you not see people can say the same thing about any other group?
No, they can't. No, they can't.
This is the arrogance I'm talking about.
Yep, I've had enough of this for the time being. I'm sure there's more to watch. I mean, I saw this earlier, and there was some discussion about reading Sahih al-Bukhari, and Hamza again didn't see any point in reading Sahih al-Bukhari. I was disappointed in this. Yeah, and I've explained why. I've explained because Hamza just, all he had to say is, I don't want to read his book. I don't have the time. 7 volumes, medieval writing. I haven't got time for it. I've got more pressing things. I've got more important things. I have to prioritize my time. Instead, he went around jumping from question to question. So I don't remember the first point. Yeah, he dismissed the man, said he's a Christian, his mind's in a box. Then he moved the goalpost. Then he said, yeah, everybody's going to be asking you this question, Milahan, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you mean what's wrong with her? There's nothing wrong with her. I can't remember where we got to. It's pretty late where I am. If you're watching this, Muslims, go to Milahan's channel. Write some good comments in her channel. Send her good messages. Make dua for her as well. If you see that she's done anything wrong in this discussion, please point it out. Type in the comments, I want to know. Because from what I've seen, she's blameless. And Hamza's behavior was out of line here. And the result of this behavior is she got harassed on her channel. If you go check out the comments on her channel from Hamza's followers, they're bullies. A lot of them are bullies anyway. And blind followers, tribalistic. That's my point of view. And I'm not a fan of these Ahmed Didat followers or Zakir Naik followers that just want to debate Christians. To them, that's dawah. Yeah, you want to win debates and arguments. I wouldn't call that da'wah. Don't call that da'wah. Call it something else. Da'wah is taking someone by the hand and bringing them to the truth, not destroying them and humiliating them. And this is what this discussion turned into, another debate and argument. One person trying to win over the other. In fact, it wasn't Milahan trying to humiliate Hamza. But Hamza trying to prove his point. It's very stubborn. I'm sorry to be critical. I should criticize myself first and foremost, and not criticize other people. I'm sorry, but I was just unhappy with what I saw of Milahan being bullied online. There was a follow-up video done by each party, and that was also disappointing. But big up Sister Milahan. May Allah bless you, sister. And yeah, big up Brother Hamza too. Please don't get into beef with women online and leave the sister alone. She's new to Islam. Big respect to the sister. Look, already wearing a niqab. How many sisters have been Muslim for years? They don't dress like that. She's from the United States. I don't know. May Allah bless the sister and raise her rank and keep us all firm upon the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, she's read the whole of Sahih al-Bukhari, volumes. How many Muslims have done that? Big up. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.